Namaste. I am indeed grateful to the authorities of the Parshuram, Shri Maharshi Parshuram College of Engineering at Velneshwar, district Ratnagiri. They have given me this opportunity to talk to you on a very important topic, defining science. My name is Dr. Pramod Pathak. I did my chemical engineering intake from IIT Mumbai, and then I did my PhD in the Vedic literature from the Mumbai University. Over the years, I have done the basic research as well as the industrial research during my career as a chemical engineer, and then I have also had a research in the sociological sciences and Vedic literature, wherein I had to deal with scientific topics. And in that case, many times question arose in my mind as to what do we understand by science. And I started asking myself and at the same time asking others, how do they understand or what do they make out of science? What exactly, how do they define science to be precise? Then I received very many answers. Science is studying nature, science is studying this, science is etc. etc. I mean, there are so many things that you are, but one very important thing was missing. I will give you an example. The rising sun. Rising sun is observed by many times. We also observe. It provokes different type of ideas. For example, if there is a man of literature, he will conceptualize it and put his story on the background of that light. He has observed. He was impressed by the whole rising sun. He noted the surroundings, and that made him to think that yes, whatever the character he had pursued is to be painted on this background. So he has observed it. But does it become science? For example, many poets have written about the rising sun, how it rises and etc. etc. And since ancient times, the rising sun or the Ushas, that is the dawn, are praised right back into the Vedas. But does it become science? No, it doesn't become science. Then what is science? Now I will give you one example. It's about 100 years ago. We are back in 1920s or as late as this. There were no thermometers easily available. Only few doctors in the hospitals used to have the thermometer. And what about the majority of the masses who were there in the cities as well as in the villages and official areas? It was a fear. Yes, बुखार है, नहीं है, ताप आला है, नहीं आला है. So, it is only fear. Now suppose if a boy or a girl, kid in the house, or even grown man is not doing well, then sleep, take rest, cover yourself with some chadar and all, and invite Vedraj. We know our Vedraj, there used to be a system of the medicine men, Ayurveda Acharyas, in fact, they were great, they cured. It is not that we find allopathy is gaining very good root again in India. So this Vitraj was called. Now what? Very first thing he will come and do it to feel the pulse. Is the pulse more or less? They have their own ways of judging it. Many diseases to be judged with only one criteria of pulse. I don't want to doubt their capacities and all. They will. Secondly, what is the temperature of the body? At least pulse can be measured. But was there a watch so that they could easily make it by 1 minute so many pulses? No, they would never observe watch. They had a feel. Secondly, about the temperature. If Raj is entering your house in the early morning hours of a winter season, what will happen? His fingertips will be cold. And when he comes with these cold fingertips, if he feels the pulse, which is very likely, he will feel, yeah, it is good, very high temperature. But the same Raj, if he comes in the summer, his fingertips will be slightly warmer. The same thing will be judged by, no, not much. It is little bit. You ask him to drink water and all, whatever it is. Now, what is missing here? Today we can say that if the temperature is 100 degrees centigrade, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it is not centigrade, it is 37 or 39 degrees centigrade. If it is winter, then it will give the feeling of that being 102 degrees Fahrenheit. And if it comes in the summer, it will give feel that it is 97, 98. But when you put a thermometer and measure it as it is given for keeping it 1 minute, whatever it is. Nowadays we have digital thermometers also. Then what is it? What result is? The result is yes, it is exactly, it is 101 degrees Fahrenheit, or it is 102. Oh, things going out of control, 103 and all that. So what has happened in this case? Earlier, in absence of a thermometer, it was a feel. Today, with the thermometer at your disposal, it is a measurement. And this measurement gives you exact indication of the temperature of the body. Have you measured whole content of the heat in your body? No, you have not measured. But what you have measured? You have measured uniform, not even uniform. Your legs could be different. Your head could have different, slightly different temperature. But you have put it in such a place where these external things are less effective. And you are able to measure a body temperature at a point which is standardized now. So either you put it in mouth or you put it in the armpit. And with that reference, now there is another thing, there is a reference point. With that reference, we are able to quantify the temperature of the body. And this is where the science comes. That is the scientific approach. So what we have done? We have done is, we have quantified some indicative factor which can be compared with standard temperature or standard in that case, and then you can measure it and take necessary measures. So here the first criteria is science is quantification. If you are able to quantify, then it is science, first step. Now what is the second step? The second step is, the moment you quantify, you should be able to predict something which is very high. There is a difference between astronomy and astrology. What is astronomy? Astronomy is the one which, for example, which is able to predict the movement of the planets, or even movement of the many things, but especially planets, and what time where that particular star will be there, where that planet will be there. These are all things which astronomy can do. But there is another, they call it science. I may differ on that. It is astrology. What is astrology? They have a particular square, or you can call it as a rectangle, which they divide in 12 places. And then, based upon whatever the locations of the planets in that Kundali, jisko kehenge hum, horoscope, they predict the incidents in your life. Or there is another way, Hasta Samudrik, or the palm reading of palm. Now they say, looking at this particular line, oh, you are going to live for so many years. No, you are going to face this problem at this particular time, in the midlife, in the whatever it is. So they also predict. But is it possible to verify it after 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is? And are they able to exactly pinpoint it? No. It is a guess which need not be always true in many cases. Whereas, in case of astronomy, in case of science, it is possible to predict the next stage if you change one or two things here. For example, in case of astronomy, a planet will be in the position after 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. It is possible. And it can be verified that yes, now the star is, the planet is here. Even in case of stars, that every year, the whole cycle, the sun will undergo cycles to different stars. We have the calendar, we know which month starts when. So, accurately predicting a result is another way, because you have quantified some things. You have quantified the star movement. You have quantified the angle in which they undergo over every day or whatever it is. And then from that you are able to predict. And it can be verified. So it is not just numbers, just in the case of the astrology, because they are not numbers. 20 साल के बाद में आपको 20 years you are going to suffer, you are going to gain, whatever it is. Quantification is there, so called. But is it verifiable? Is it accurate? And also, there is one more aspect is can that be, if the result will come, will it be possible to predict what went wrong? Now, if a particular person is told that yes, after 10 years we are going to happen, this is going to happen, and if this did not happen, then will the particular person who predict astrologer will be able to give a reason? No, that time I said something, but this time it has not happened. Whereas in case of a scientific thing, if some factor is missing, for many experiments, you consider one factor more influential, etc., that you are not able to always understand. So you can cross-check as to what went wrong while predicting this result. So science is not only quantification, it is also predictable or verifiable prediction. So we will say, whenever we say we want to define science, then in that case, first criteria, one is quantification. You are able to quantify it. Yes. And second most important criteria is evolved, why Newton's law of motion, why Newton's gravitational proposition was one of the greatest discoveries of the time. It was because Newton quantified that this is the force with which a planet or even our Earth is pulling a particular thing which is thrown, the gravitational constant. He quantified it and then he could verify it. He was able to predict the motion of the planets, and over there not only once or twice, whenever they were there. So Newton's laws and Newton's discovery of gravity was considered to be one of the scientific feats in those days. Many other things which were there. For example, Newton had predicted that the light rays are particles. It was not possible at that time. Even we don't consider light as particles. Photons are not particles. So something went wrong. Whereas simultaneously there was a proposition that the light are waves. And there were a lot of experiments where you could verify the wave nature of the light. So it is not necessary that a scientist will be able to predict everything correctly. He conceives certain idea, he is able to quantify it, and then if the prediction is verifiable, it becomes science. Another very important scientific, we can say which defined science, was the Einstein's prediction of the general relativity, that the light will bend. And for that purpose, we know it is in 1919, almost 103 years ago, they had come and measured that virtually because of the sun's gravity, the light from a planet behind the sun was to be seen. Now this is very accurate, predictable result which was verified. And therefore, the proposition of relativity, the change of light, gravity and all that was supposed to be one of the greatest feats in science. So what were the things? The first thing is, it was quantified. And second thing is, it was predictable with verification possible. So, whenever we say that we are doing scientific work, we have to understand that we should be in position to quantify and we should be able to predict and verify data points. Now one simple example I will give you. How can the arts be brought into the realms of science? There are many areas. I will give you one example. Now, these days many people are doing electronic painting and electronic drawing. Drawing is nothing, but they are able to make the printed boards out of it. They conceive a color and they will paint it, they will this is a very established technique now. In earlier case, for example, whenever the artists were drawing beautiful pictures, we have, for example, Raja Ravi Verma. I don't want to say one, but for example, the way he conceived the dresses of his characters, he had visualized that, well, this particular dress will be good for a particular character. Now that was his art. He conceived it, he mixed it, and he painted it. But nowadays, if an artist wants to make a canvas on the monitor of a computer or even laptop, for example, what he does, he has to his help, there is a small strip of colors which use virtually thousands of colors. I don't want to call it infinite, but thousands of colors. that strip is there, and we know there are three basic colors R, Y, B. Red, yellow and blue. R, Y, B. Now, what exactly happens in the case of a particular electronic device? That you have these densities, the dot matrix densities of these colors, which ultimately appear as different color shades. Will it be possible? I always ask the people of electronics and other communication, these people, why don't you, along with that stream, if you give the combination as to this particular color has this density of RYB, that is so many dot matrix R, so many dot matrix yellow, and so many dot matrix blue. Then in that case, what will happen? In course of time, the person who wants to paint something will not only consider the color, but he also will consider the dot matrix combination, quantify it. And then a few here and there he will be able to predict. So it is possible that a faculty of perceiving color can now be brought into the realms of numbers and verify that yes, I have this particular color in my mind and it is a combination of these dots. So it is likely that in future many of the arts or many of the inventions like these may be quantified for prediction and verification. So that becomes science. Therefore, finally I conclude that defining science, it is quantification with predictable verifications. Thank you.